Would you go to a restaurant during a pandemic? Probably not. In July, I don't think anybody was that keen. Places had reopened, but sales were down significantly. But being the cheap bastards that we are, when the government said they'd pay part of the bill for us, suddenly they became very popular again. For the whole of August, from Mondays to Wednesdays, England had an Eat Out to Help Out scheme. You'd get half the price of your meal and drink off, maximum of £10 discount, and no alcoholic drinks included. There were, of course, a number of problems with this. Firstly, you can't get alcoholic drinks. Secondly, it laughs in the face of any attempt at staying fit from earlier in the pandemic. Screw you, Joe Wick and your fitness guides. Well done everybody for taking up running earlier in the pandemic. Now go have a burger. In fact, go have two because they're half price. And let's not forget about the pandemic that's still ravaging the world. But this Eat Out scheme definitely helped local pubs and restaurants and proved to be extremely popular. I used it a number of times and it became something to look forward to every week when so many other options were limited. And boy, some of those meals were cheap. 2 breakfasts and 2 drinks for under £11? Yes please. It also let us visit places that would normally be out of our price range. As for how safe all this was, depended on where you went. Larger chains were more likely to employ barriers and social distancing, while some smaller places pretty much just crammed business in and there wasn't a mask in sight. Staff would be running about, not wearing anything at all, over their faces at least. A few places would get you to write your name and number for some kind of tracing program, so if later on they discover somebody who visited was infected, others could be informed that they too could be checked. But I only saw this in a few places. Most did not. Gyms also reopened. I imagined these would be the most dangerous places imaginable, but actually I think mine is one of the safest. There was barely anybody there. Every other machine was out of service to promote social distancing, and you were provided with hand wash and sprays to clean the machines before and after use. I've only gone a few times, but that's because I'm lazy. And cinemas reopened. This I was not too impressed with, nor was I with Tenet. When I booked my seat, I chose somewhere far away from everybody else, but it seems later bookings really liked where I was sat, and I ended up surrounded by a crowd of people. Masks were worn, but were inevitably removed when it came to eating popcorn. All it would take would be one powerful cough to shower the 3 or 4 rows in front with pandemic juice. I haven't visited too many shops, but the bigger chains and shopping centres would sometimes create one-way systems, which I think is a good idea. I think we've all become accustomed to carrying a mask at all times. It now feels weird not to be wearing them in public places. Unfortunately, in my last video I questioned the effectiveness of my mask, which meant I ended up getting attacked by both anti-mask and pro-mask groups. I like to think in these videos that I'm free to say stuff without having to cover my back by starting everything with "I'm pro-mask, but hey, it's too late for that now." It's odd how polarised the internet can become on literally anything these days. I feel like if I'm under attack from both sides about something, then maybe I'm on the right track. But no need to attack me anymore, because I went out and got a better mask, because I still don't trust my older one. Reddit continues to be a place with all of the knowledge, yet none of the wisdom, as the debate continues about what effectiveness masks have. Do they protect the wearer? Or everybody else? Or both? And if so, then by how much? And what sort of mask is needed? Please don't tell me I'm not looking for more answers. Instead, I'm looking for fewer but more agreed upon answers. So I think I'm sensible by not getting involved in debates. I'm not an expert, I will simply do what the government has advised me to do. I will wear a mask in public places, and I'll wear one that I don't deem to be totally ineffective. I've seen face visors in some places which seem pretty awesome. These are often worn instead of masks, and are often covered in spray, which makes me disgusted by how much the average person gets spat on as they go about their daily business. And I see more and more disposable masks littering the place. It's selfish. So that was the situation in August, but the proof is in the numbers. Has the opening of public places resulted in more cases? Yes, the numbers grew slowly but surely through August, but since the beginning of September have surged from 1,500 daily cases up to 3,000 a day. Bear in mind that the first wave maxed out at about 5.5k, so at this rate we'll soon be back to the worst levels the UK has faced so far in this pandemic. It's getting worse, just like it is in the rest of Europe, and pretty soon I'm sure the country will have to lock itself down again. The lead up to this second spike has been different from the first. It's taken longer to reach this level. This could be due to better and more widespread testing, and maybe measures like masks and hand washing have helped to slow the spread. But nonetheless, it's spiking, the R number is above 1, and it's a sign we've opened too much to be sustainable. I don't regret what's happened. I think that businesses and jobs have really benefited from things opening up. It's just that perhaps now it's time to close things down again for a while. The country still seems interested in smaller, more localised lockdowns by identifying the parts of the country with the greatest number of cases and by quarantining them, leaving other places open. In the southwest, we continue to avoid the worst of it, though the bank holiday weekend at the start of the month definitely saw a lot of visitors down, and many seemingly from abroad. It's not something I've been paying too much attention to, as it's not like I'm rushing to take a holiday abroad this year, but flights from other countries are allowed, but if you come from certain ones where their infection rate is higher than England's, then you need to self-quarantine for 2 weeks after arrival. September means going back to school, and they're open, and I suspect will cause a huge number of new infections. There have been a few hotspots announced already, but you can understand the dilemma. If schools close, then can children just be left at home? What about the parents? If schools close, everything else grinds to a halt, and if they don't close and cases continue to climb, everything might grind to a halt regardless. The start of September looks bleak. Cases in England and other parts of Europe are shooting up. India's in a terrible state. America's less bad than it was, but it's still pretty bad. It's not a good situation, and I worry now that people are burnt out from all this lockdown. Would a second lockdown even be as successful as the first? And with winter approaching, is the cold weather going to complicate things? It's still early days for vaccines. Most countries remain in the trial stage, but Russia went ahead and tested on 40,000 people last month. The first details about it have been published, and it looks promising. But like I said, it is still very early days for the vaccine, and for the disease itself. The long-term health risks are still unknown. I went on another train journey the other week. Again, it was lovely and quiet. The station was empty, and the carriages had, at most, 6 or 7 people in each. All wearing masks, all quietly minding their own business, as the silence was occasionally interrupted by announcements reminding people of the risks. Wear a mask, wash your hands, and sit in the window seat, so as to stay as far away from other people as possible. Which is fine, because that's what everybody here in England always does anyway. There I was, staring out of the window as the train pulled into Exeter station, and the strangest thing happened. On the next track along, a train stopped alongside ours. Inside one of its carriages was like a scene from 100 years ago. There were chandeliers, armchairs, and it was full of elderly people, sat around tables, eating. Fine clothes, and not a mask in sight. It was like the country wasn't in the midst of a terrible pandemic. From inside that carriage, through these 2 panes of glass, an elderly woman looked up and saw me. She motioned to the others, and the rest of the table stopped what they were doing and stared back at me. It was a strange moment, like I was peering through a portal into another world. Then one of them put on a shit-eating grin and did the most sarcastic thumbs up I have ever seen. Suddenly, all 4 of them were waving at me and pointing at my mask and laughing at whatever the others were saying. I politely nodded, then headed on my way.